We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for business owners and buying a business. And so we're going to do 1-38 today. Should I have partners? And so before we dive in, good to have you here, Kenny. Kenny, what would you like? Is there anything specific you'd like to accomplish today?
Not that I can think of right now.
All right, Luke, what did you want to accomplish as it relates to, should I have partners?
Um, so when I went into business, I went in young. And then I had partners because in my mind there was no other way to do it. But like I guess for me, I don't know how it is to not have partners. I'm sure there's pros and cons to everything. Like what are some of the pros and cons to having and not having partners?
So the pros to not having partners is you do all the work. So nobody else is going to go ahead and screw it up for you. You're doing all the work, and so you don't have to deal with stupid people unless you're stupid. Then that's all you deal with. So you don't have to deal with other people. You do everything. That's the advantage. The disadvantage is you do everything. So if you don't have a particular skill that you need to have, you either acquire that skill or you go out of business. So my first business, so when I started businesses in high school and college, it was just myself, and then it was myself and my wife. And then when I graduated from college, then I was an owner of a company with another owner. It didn't go terrible, but definitely didn't go great either. I was much younger than him. Um, and so he had other partners before me. It didn't go so well for those partners either, or for him. So I don't know that he knew what he was doing, and I didn't know what I was doing. And then I had another business with two partners, and that didn't go so good either. Then when I started the companies, of the 9 companies I have right now, the one I've had the longest is Synergy Solutions, and I was on the board of directors of a company, and then we decided to start a company together where they started off owning 51% of Synergy, and I owned 49%, with the intention after 15 months it would switch, and I would own 51, they would own 49. And I would say that I couldn't have started Synergy without them, for sure. For sure, I couldn't have. But after 15 months, I bought their interests out. Not because I wanted to, but because they forced it. They said, "Yeah, we're not going to do business anymore." So I had 3 partners. They were putting in roughly 50% of the income. There were 3 other partners, and they owned 50%, and they owned at the end of 15 months, I owned 51, they owned 49%. And so the breakup wasn't terrible, but I didn't want it. They just forced it. And so I continued to work out of their office. They contracted with me to do work for them for probably another year after the breakup, let's say. So it wasn't terrible. Um, it wasn't terrible, but it definitely was not the ideal situation either. So then for the next, I don't know, 30 years, I didn't have any partners. It was just me. Um, and that was brutal. I mean, that was absolutely brutal. Worse than having partners. I mean, it's just different. It's just hard. It's hard to me. It's just hard. It's hard either way. And there's pros and cons. Now,
So
go ahead.
Why didn't you want the sellout or for you to sell them? What did you see that you didn't want that?
Well, they were, they had a lot to bring a value to me. Um, I don't think I would have gone into business with them if I had known they were going to pull out after 15 months. And then they had all the computing, like their first software or the first product that Synergy had was a combination of marketing, which I could handle myself, and computer programming. So it was a computer programming that was a subscription based system specifically to the mortgage industry. And it was software, and I didn't know how to do software programming. And so I didn't know, as a driver analytic, I didn't know how to work well with people. Some would say I still don't. I wouldn't debate that. And they did not know how to work with a driver analytic. And so I lost 50% of my money. The money was being invested, all their expertise and all the ability to do the computer programming. It would be like you, Luke, in Dreamscape, where you're a construction business and you don't know how to do any of the construction. You just don't. And you can't learn how to do it fast enough to go ahead and do it. That's what it was like. I owned a technology company, and I didn't know how to do I didn't know how to do the technology.
So what did you hire someone in?
I did, and I did that before that they did, and I had a transition. It worked out okay, not terrible, not great, but there was so much that I didn't know. Oh my goodness, it was insane. So Linda Brakall, my international speaking coach, I went ahead and I was probably 27, 28 at the time, probably 28. So I started it when I was, that company I started when I was 27. And so it was about a year into Synergy. And she said, Mark, you're going to be really, really successful in business. I said, oh, thanks, Linda. She said, but I'd never want to have the success that you do. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And she says, you're going to see success in your business because you just work so hard. I mean, within 6 months, a year of knowing me, she just knew that. So that was a nice way of saying, Mark, you're kind of stupid. You're not going to see success in business because you're smart or good. You're just going to succeed because you're just a hard worker. You just don't give up. You're a bulldog and you just work. You just work really, really hard. And that prophecy, that prediction proved true. So there's no way that losing what I lost, there's no way that I should have survived. And there's probably, I don't know, a couple handful of times that I shouldn't have survived going forward. The skill sets and the disciplines and the thinking process and the knowledge and wisdom and experience and how to do things, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Nor would I ever want anyone else to have to go through what I've gone through.
Got it. So what would your suggestion be for someone, let's say someone younger, 25 years old that wants to go into business? Should he go in with partners or should he attempt it by himself or
Well, again, it depends totally on the person, their skill set, what they're doing. So every situation is totally different.
mm-hmm.
And so I wish I had somebody, I wish I had a partner. I wanted a partner, could have used a partner, didn't have a partner. If you can find a partner, like when you're young, you don't realize how much you don't know. That kind of serves you well because if you knew how hard it would be and how much risk you'd have, and you and Kenny have an experience from my perspective, you guys have not experienced a lot of adversity. You guys haven't experienced the pressure, in the 2 years you've been in business, you guys haven't experienced, anything close to what I experienced the first 2 years. That's not bad and it's not derogatory. Um, so if you can go ahead and find a business partner where you can get into flow and be in flow, for sure I'd do it. For sure. Without question. In a heartbeat. But that's not easy to do. Like in my experience, often older men will take advantage of younger men, and younger men will take advantage of older men. Often, older men, they haven't had all that much experience in developing younger men, believe it or not. And younger men don't appreciate what the older men have gone through. So they won't. Do they both use each other? Probably a lot. And the older men probably get discouraged and say, and if they don't have to make the money, that's good and really bad. It's really good and it's really bad. It's really good in that they're not doing it for the money. So that's good. It's bad because they don't have to make the money. So they're not going to bring in, they're not going to do the all of the physical work. They're going to do more typically the mental. And that's worth its weight in gold, but the younger men, they're not going to appreciate it because they haven't invested the decades into acquiring that wisdom and knowledge. So until they start developing other people, they won't appreciate what's put in. And even then, they'll look at people they develop and say, man, that person doesn't respect me. That person doesn't work hard. That person has no loyalty. They'll see everything in that younger person, but they won't, almost never will they connect it in to themselves, or they're just like that, maybe worse. They just won't see it. So as human beings, we tend to overvalue what we bring to the table and undervalue our weaknesses and what other people bring to the table. Theoretically, an older man should go ahead and realize that. In my experience, if you ask me, they don't. They just don't. And so, other questions, Luke?
What is like the biggest challenge with getting in flow with a business partner?
A lot of it revolves around personalities. So you're going to like people who are like yourselves, and you're going to fall in love with people that are opposite. And so, I'm going to like the people who are driver analytics, probably. Like they're going to see the world as I see the world. But they're going to have the same strengths that I have and the same weaknesses. So the amiable and expressive, especially the expressive and the amiable, I'm going to have a hard time with because they just see the world so differently. And they're going to have a hard time with me because I'm going to be the opposite personality that they are. And I've been married to my wife for 41 years. And so I'm going to have baggage. They may have had a dad like me. They're going to have baggage. And so personalities, I would say, is the number one thing. If you can understand personalities, that helps immensely. Like they're not out to get you, they're not out to harm you. You just see the world in a very different way. But then you get into culture backgrounds. And so, I grew up in the Chicago area, the suburbs, and with a very hard work ethic family. And, I work minimum of 6 days a week all the time from a kid up. And, if the work wasn't done, like on a farm, if the work wasn't done, you got to do some work on Sundays. You have to feed the animals. You got to do the chores. You got to do something because you just have to. So that's how I grew up. Now I'm in northern Indiana, and I'm telling you, I mean, it's crazy. Like Saturday and Sunday, yeah, you take off and you take weeks off here and there. It's hard to get people. So the work ethic and the value system. So everybody in northern Indiana, when I say everybody, I don't mean 100%, but by and large, a massive percent of them want to go ahead and own their own company, but they want to go ahead and have their free time too. And so they want all of the benefits that come from owning a company, but they don't want any of the responsibilities. It's almost like, it's almost like having a mistress. Like you want all the benefits of a woman, intimacy or whatever, without any of the responsibilities of having a wife. That's not going to work well for anybody. It's just not. And so, so when you have that kind of stuff, so your value system, your work ethic system, all of those type of things, the ability to work, the willingness to make sacrifices, the willingness to go ahead and take risk, all of those types of things, it's just hard. And Kenny, he had said he was never taught how to argue. So just in relationships, like if something's not working, like self-awareness, like people aren't self-aware. So people will be angry with you and they don't even know they're angry. Well, if they don't know they're angry, how are they supposed to communicate that? Or if they're trained, you're going to hell, or maybe not that extreme, but it's not good to have conflict. So you don't even talk about conflict. If that's how you were trained, then you don't even know how to deal with differences. You don't know how to deal with conflict. You don't know how to deal with differences of perspective. So that's where this is buying a business, but it's more than just buying a business, Luke. It's helping the business owner, like my son, Jonathan. Like, man, it took us probably 8 years of working together before we really got into flow. The last year, 2 years, last year, especially of his life, he passed away 5 years ago, as you guys know. The last year of his life was probably, without question, the best flow that we had. He was, amiable, expressive personality with a lot of analytic, not like me. And so it was just hard. So it's hard I think it's important, often the amiable personality, they're nice to everybody. And those people, they get eaten alive in business because they take advantage of other people and other people take advantage of them. But they're nice. Nobody has ever told them they're mean or nasty. So they think that they're really nice. And it's like, well, you're kind of not. You might not be as direct, but you have your issues too. So everybody has their issues, all of the 4 personalities. But how do you go ahead and navigate those things? It's not easy. It's hard. Kenny, anything you got, sir?
Only thing I can think of is, so when you're in a partnership, how to change or get out of the partnership without having ill will or bad feelings, hurting people.
So, in a lot of ways, I probably look at business and partnerships as marriage. That's how I look at it, and other people don't. And it's not the same. It's not the same, but to me, it is. And so, but it's likely because, Jim Bontrager said about me, he's like, you just pour so much in. If I'm going to pour so much in, I want to do relationship for life. Now, things can shift. There's different things, so you shift and you have different seasons in life. And so my kids, it's a different thing when they're small and they're, teenagers, and then they leave the home. So there's different seasons in life. So I think strong communication. I think really strong communication and being honest with ourselves first and foremost. Who are we and what are we and what do we want? And then, you know, like my parents didn't let us quit jobs. They just didn't. It was crazy. You just don't quit. And I'm not saying that's good. I mean, some of it is, but some of it's not. And so they went ahead and taught, we're not going to train quitters. We're going to train, you're going to stick with it. And it's not necessarily the rest of your life, but you make a commitment, you follow through with it. And so they said that once you have a pattern of quitting, once you have a pattern of walking away, that there's something in your brain that will make it easier to walk away and quit next time. So theoretically, one of the things that's made me the husband that I am, 41 years of marriage, is I just don't quit. I just don't. Maybe I should, but I don't. So one of the things that make me a good business partner is I don't quit. I don't know, maybe I should. I just don't give up. I just don't walk away. I just stick with it. I figure out, like 3 feet from gold, it's like there's something there. So how do you go ahead and do it? Because it seems like, for me, it seems like the most benefits. It's just like physical exercise. You get the most benefit after you feel like quitting. So if that's true in physical exercise, why would it not be true in business and relationships and friendships and everything? But I have noticed now, I don't, if somebody else wants to, I'm like, okay. Like if they want to do it, I don't fight for something now, probably like I did in the past, unless somebody's willing to do that. If they're willing to put it in, then I am. And if they're not, you know what? Okay. Other questions or thoughts, Kenny?
I don't think so. No.
Luke, anything else you got, sir?
I don't think so.
All right. So if you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.